Welcome along to another edition of our weekend football betting podcast at matchbook.com. Delighted to be joined by two men who were in terrific form last weekend. Adrian Clarke at the top of the screen. Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm all right. All good.
Good stuff. You at the Emirates on Monday night, yeah?
I was. Yeah, it was. Mixed feelings because I clearly wanted Arsenal to win,
Yeah, of course.
and to play much better than they did. But our selection was Crystal Palace plus a goal,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it came in nicely, didn't it? So yeah, conflicting feelings on the night. I thought Palace were very good.
Absolutely. Good morning also to Mark O'Haire on this bright and sunny Thursday morning. Mark, good weekend in the Champions League too. We had a couple of winners, we had a couple of losers too, but it was an interesting couple of days.
Yeah, it always is in the Champions League. It's quite hard to second guess sometimes, and certainly I've dropped a clanger with the Dortmund plus a quarter angle. But nice to see the United Atalanta game hacking up on goals and entertainment as we expected. So good fun as always, and hoping to continue the good form from last weekend.
Yeah, and speaking of that good form from last weekend, 8 selections, like we said. The only loss was QPR +1. But it was a good loss in the sense that we was never in doubt that I was going to lose. But there we did. So we have Leicester versus Manchester United over 2.5 was 1.8. That was your best bet, Adrian Clarke. Chelsea to win under 3.5. Stop me if you've seen this story before. We've pitched this one before, and we'll pitch it again because it wins at 2.26. Lovely price there, just over 5-4. Mark's best bet was Newcastle Spurs, both teams to score. 19 minutes that was up, Mark, I think, or maybe 17 minutes. Palace +1 on Monday night. We already referenced that at 1.8. Reading 2.22. Freiburg got that up as well. They went a goal down the first half to Leipzig, but came back there. And Lazio versus Inter, 4 goals in that one, so an easy cover as well. That was good, guys. That was really good. I think, look, we're well able to talk about our losing weeks too. But Adrian Clarke, it was a good bounce back weekend.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. It's been a struggle for me a little bit with the EFL at the moment. A lot of unpredictability, but yeah, it was good to have almost a clean sweep. Yeah, I let the side down with that QPR selection, but yeah, it was and a lot of those were never in doubt. Leicester versus Manchester United just had the look of goals, didn't it? And you can go through all of the. I mean, Newcastle Spurs, that was always going to be, I think, a bit of a gunslinging match, and so it proved.
Yeah, Marco, you also had one selection from Basel to beat Sion in the Swiss Super League as well. So your insights, Colin, going really well. 4 winners from your last 4 as well.
Yeah, look, I'll ride it. Basel scored in the last minute to win that away game, so I was pretty fortunate to scoop it. But as you say, we've had losers, and we highlight them plenty of times. So it's nice to sort of blow the trumpet when you've had a few winners as well. I mean, we're in betting, aren't we? It's ups and downs, and the ups are fantastic. So we've got to enjoy them.
Absolutely. 4 games we're going to cover today. We're going to start with Manchester United, Liverpool. We're then going to proceed to West Ham and Tottenham, Brentford, Leicester, Brighton versus Man City. Adrian has 2 EFL selections, and Mark has 2 from Europe as well. So yeah, let's get going. One-stop shop here in Manchester on Sunday. It's going to be a good one, potentially. It's got to be a good one. But sometimes these games do disappoint. They do hype up, and sometimes they can fall flat, but we're not going to say that. Manchester United at home at 3.15 currently. Liverpool at 2.34. The draw available at 3.7. The main Asian handicap at the moment, as we have it, is Manchester United plus a quarter of a goal at 1.95. Liverpool minus a quarter goal at 1.98. Main goal line is 3. And slightly shaded towards the under, Adrian Clarke. Look, we've done United. Look, even that game last night, we're recording on this Thursday morning. This is almost like they're got down 2-0. We see the worst of Manchester United in the second half. Then the shackles come off. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, have they got a chance on Sunday, or we got to be with Liverpool here, surely?
Look, they've always got a chance. It's Manchester United. They've got Ronaldo up front. They've got a plethora of talent. They've got Bruno Fernandes, who played great in that game against Atalanta, and his output has actually been excellent so far this season, even though it's not totally reflected in goals and assists. But yeah, look, I just think it will be a good game. I can't see anything other than an entertaining one personally. United home games average 3.5 goals. This season, Liverpool away games average 4.25. Most of those are scored by Liverpool, it has to be said. And when you look at these two sides meeting at Old Trafford, they've been more exciting than not in recent times. I think both teams have scored in 5 of the last 6 between United and Liverpool at Old Trafford. And look, from Liverpool's point of view, sensational going forward. Clearly, with Mo Salah untouchable at the moment, just genius form, but not just him. A number of others. But away from home against the better teams in the division, and they've had 3 matches. 3 matches, not just away from home, but they've had 3 matches against teams that are in the top half, and they've conceded 6 goals in those 3 matches, Liverpool. So against the stronger outfits, they haven't been infallible, is the point I'm making. So yeah, I can see both teams scoring here. United don't keep clean sheets at home anymore, do they? It used to be
ever.
A thing.
Yeah.
I think it's nine games now in the Premier League without a clean sheet. So yeah, I would fancy Liverpool to win the game because they're a better team in better form. But I also feel that there could be goals. So I was looking at this one 2 ways really. I was looking at the sort of over 2.75 goals market.
Yeah.
Which was backable. I think at 1.82 the last time I looked. But hand on heart, I can't go against Liverpool here. My selection based on form and whatnot would be Liverpool to win. But you can stretch the odds a little bit by backing Liverpool and over 1.5 goals. So obviously it takes out the 1-0.
Yep.
But you can stretch it, and that to me appeals. Actually, I think that's the kind of result that they're more than likely to put off. You can get 2.66 on that at the moment. So and you have to respect Liverpool's long unbeaten run as well, don't you? It's been going on for a long time now. And here's a stat for you. I love this stat, like a quirky stat. They're unbeaten, Liverpool, in 25 Premier League matches against United teams. So not just Manchester United. Anyone that's called United.
Here we go.
They have gone 25 games unbeaten, which is pretty impressive, I think. The last one was when they lost to Manchester United in 2018, March 2018. So look, they love playing United, whether it's Man United, other Uniteds. So for me, Liverpool plus Liverpool to win and over 1.5 goals would be my selection, but I wouldn't bet against the goals angle here either.
Yeah, you can get about 2.7 on that currently. Mark, definitely in the first half last night at Atlanta, they looked, United, especially on the left-hand side of that defence, looked struggling. Shaw looked like he was struggling. And who's one of the most, informed players on this planet at the moment? Mo Salah. There's got to be an edge here for Liverpool in that area too.
Yeah, although slightly controversially, I think United played all right on Wednesday night. I think they gave away some sloppy goals for sure, and the first half wasn't fantastic. And I think we saw in the team selection Solskjaer reacting to what happened at the weekend, dropping Pogba and going back to the 2 sort of holding defensive midfielders, and it didn't really work. But ultimately, I thought United in possession caused Atalanta problems. Could easily have scored before half time, and probably didn't deserve to be 2 goals behind at the time either. So I did think we saw a reaction, but I am finding this game quite tricky, to be honest. I'm finding it difficult to kind of look at the odds and find something I really want to hang my hat on and believe in, and believe there's value there, because Liverpool are turning up at Old Trafford now as favourites for the 5th season in a row. This isn't the norm. This isn't like abnormal for Liverpool to be coming here, looking like the team who are likely to win. I don't want to go through all the sort of sloppy stereotypes about, derby factors and form going out the window, but just look at their last couple performances here at Old Trafford. They did win 4-2 in May as 2.45 shots, but in the title-winning campaign, they were held to a draw at Old Trafford. They were even money that day. The season before, they were held and they were 2.2 that day. The year before, they lost and they were favourites as well. So, United do have the capacity to pull out a performance when it matters.
Yeah.
And we can't kid ourselves. That squad is ridiculously stacked with high-class talent. You look at the players who came off the bench against Atalanta, it is ridiculous. So,
Mark, it's top-heavy talent. The problem is it's off in the offensive side of the field, it's stacked, but beyond that, it's very imbalanced, yeah.
But the thing I would say is United's best performances over the past couple of seasons under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would say away at Man City and away at PSG. Not just once, they've done it twice. And that's been a containment and a counter approach. And I think they would be foolish to go out and play gung-ho football against Liverpool, because you're going to get beaten in that arms race. Liverpool are in crazy good goal-scoring form. Adrian's talked about all the individual quality as well. But there are flaws in that defence too. We saw at Madrid, I didn't think they were completely convincing in midweek, but still managed to win. So, yeah, it is holding me back. I don't want to go down this stereotypical route about form, but United have the capacity to turn up here and do something. Whether they will or not, I'm not sure. Their record over the past 4 seasons, when they've been going off as 2-1 outsiders or bigger, is actually really quite impressive. But Liverpool, at the moment, you don't want to dismiss them either. So I've kind of played it pretty safe, pragmatically, because I think the match could. I slightly disagree with Adrian's approach. I don't think it will be quite as end to end. I just think United, if they're sensible, do have to sort of batten down hatches as best as they possibly can if they think they're going to pick up something from this match. So, I look at that goal line, the straight over 3 goal line, and think, Christ, I wouldn't want to be backing that. So I'd be opposing it if needs be. But also, I could not be backing United either. So I've kind of just erred on the side of caution and taken Liverpool, effectively draw no bet, Liverpool +0. If you can get it at 1.7 or not, I'm sure there is a bit of margin in the market at the moment, which might make it backable.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's kind of a leave alone and just see what happens. We expect Liverpool to win, of course we do. But something's just kind of clawing at me. I think it's just that performance when Liverpool won the title and United just shut the game down altogether.
Do you know what? I think you're also thinking about last season and Ollie in the big, because Manchester United haven't played a team in the top 6 yet, I believe. Last season, Ollie actually did a good tactical job in many of those games, a lot of those games were low scoring. He managed to tighten things up. It's just that when you so based on that, you think, well, he will try to repeat that kind of ploy here. It's just that when you look at United at the moment and their off the ball work, and I can't help but be reminded of it against Leicester. That was one of the worst performances I've seen of any team without the ball for a long, long time. It was lazy. It was disorganized. No one seemed to really know what they were supposed to be doing. Now, if he can turn that around in the space of a few days for this game, kudos to him. But if they're as disorganized as they were against Leicester, out of possession, Liverpool will tear them apart. So but I do get where Mark's coming from, the hesitancy because of.
But isn't that the overall? Isn't that the overall problem with United at the moment, though, Adrian? Because you don't know what you're going to get. And look, if you look at Liverpool, I think we're more confident on what we're going to get. There's a consistency in place, and and that's why I think you've both made the arguments there that Liverpool 0.0 on the draw. But yes, it's a short price. It's a 1.7, but I think it's a pretty safe bet. Like if it ends up 0-0, you get your money back, and we move on to next weekend. Look, I like it. Liverpool, and that'll be, like I said, draw no bet 0.0 on the matchbook.com website. 1.7 at the moment. It's a bit short, but I've backed a lot shorter than 1.7. Mark Meyer knows that. It'll be a good game.
So high, Sully.
Yeah, right. Absolutely no issue with that. Yeah, Liverpool 0.0 is the bet there. All right, let's move on. We'll stay on Sunday here, guys, and let's look at the betting in East London for West Ham against Tottenham Hotspur, 2.44. You can back the Hammers currently. Tottenham Hotspur 3.2. The draw available 3.5 on the main Asian handicap. Tottenham are getting a quarter of a goal start at 1.84. And 2.5 is the total. And Mark O'Haire, if we looked at the previous game, that was a main goal line of 3. I would have thought that this game would have been the same or actually possibly more given the current size. And you think there could be goals here in the London Olympic Stadium?
Yeah, I do. I think it's got the potential to be a really quite interesting, quite exciting game. Both teams are in the top 7. I've no idea how Spurs have sneaked into 5th, but they're there and they've won 5 games so far this season, back-to-back wins since the Derby no-show, and I think the pressure's alleviated a little bit on Nuno. Certainly the style has altered slightly. They were better against Aston Villa, had a bit more edge about them, and then they took advantage of a poor Newcastle team last weekend. But yeah, I mean, at the risk of stating the obvious, having Kane back and scoring a goal could be key for them. But ultimately, Spurs are, I think, in a false position. I've got them ranked 14th in expected points after 8 games. Only 4 sides have generated a lower non-penalty expected goals figure. Only 3 sides have had fewer shots, and only 4 sides have had fewer shots in the box. So I'm not kind of willing to say that their problems are completely solved by beating Villa and Newcastle. They still seem to have some issues, but I do think they're trending slightly more in the right direction now. Now, both teams are obviously in European action on Thursday, but I don't think that's going to have too much impact. West Ham are at home. Spurs are only in Holland. They're bringing a scratch side anyway to Arnhem. But yeah, I mean, the prices at the moment are basically saying that Spurs are the slightly better team if this game was played on neutral territory. And I have to disagree with that. I think I don't think that's a fair reflection on West Ham's progress. I've got them 4th on expected points. They've scored 11 open play goals, ranked 3rd for NPXG, 4th for shots, 3rd for shots in the box, 4th for shots on target. So that's really quite impressive. The only issue really kind of holding me back on West Ham is the schedule or the strength of it. And they've played Man United and Leicester as their toughest games. They've not faced anyone in the top 5, and 5 of their first 8 games have been against the bottom half as well. So I think West Ham deserve a bit more credit in the market. Ordinarily, I'd probably look towards West Ham +0 at 1.75, basically the draw no bet in this game. But ultimately, the bigger picture here is that West Ham under David Moyes have basically been one of the Premier League's great entertainers over the past season and a bit. I know last weekend's game against Everton was a bit of a dull drag, but the XG in that game was still coming in at almost 2.5. West Ham were the main aggressors. I think they're deserved winners as well. Look at their London Stadium games since the start of last season. The 23-game sample, 15 have gone over 2.5, 8 have gone over 3.5, 14 have seen both teams scoring. The goals per game in that sample was 3. They're opening 8 games this season. The MPXG average is 3.23, which is really quite strong. They've had 6 over 2.5 winners from 8, 6 both teams score winners as well. And the market goal expectancy is at 2.75. So again, I think it's a little low, and it's underrating West Ham a little bit. So yeah, Spurs have been a much more fun to follow, haven't they, of late? 5 successive overs winners, 14 from 23 away from home since the start of last season. I know that straddles 2 different coaches, but there is a lot of similarities between Mourinho and Nuno, for example. So yeah, I've still got very little faith in the Spurs defence. I do expect West Ham to score at least 1. But at the moment, Spurs' kind of key attributes is Lucas Moura, Son, and now hopefully Harry Kane, who scored last week. So wouldn't be at all surprised to see Spurs bag either. So both teams to score, I think, is a bit of a lock, but I'm going to push it a little bit further and take over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, and Adrian, it's kind of twofold in that sense. Mark already touched on West Ham, that if you're backing West Ham over 2.5 in any of these markets the last year or so, you're making money. And Tottenham, the last couple of weeks, albeit a small sample size, they do seem to look like they're opening up a bit.
Yeah, they do. They're certainly not secure at the back, Spurs. I don't really like the Dyer-Romero partnership yet. It's got potential, but I just don't really rate Eric Dyer as a centre-back, full stop, to be honest. So I could never trust Spurs to keep clean sheets, and they have conceded at least 2 goals in 3 of their 4 away games this season, and that's with quite a defensive coach in Nuno. So for me, yeah, West Ham almost certain to score in the game. But yeah, you look at Tottenham at Newcastle and against Villa, much better from them. Son's having a terrific season, and Kane does look better. He looks like his old self, and I feel that goal at St James's Park might be the kickstart of a good run for Harry Kane. Yeah, I see this being a really good watch. West Ham, for me, are the more accomplished team. In Declan Rice, they've got a player that's really on top of his game at the moment. But that I don't think they're dynamite at the back either. West Ham, I don't think you can back them to keep too many clean sheets. Certainly not against a team of Spurs quality. So yeah, look, my pick also as well. Soufal, I think, is out at the moment. His absence might be just unbalance them a little bit. I think Ben Johnson played the last game and did fine, but him against Son would concern me if I was David Moyes. So yeah, for me, it'd be a good game. Both teams to score was my selection, but obviously you get a shorter price, a skinnier price than over 2.5. Yeah. So I wouldn't try and talk you out of it, but I kind of feel both teams to score is very, very likely here, and at the price, yeah, that might be where I go.
Yeah, that seems to be the kind of the lock there. I will say though, that because we put in a 1.7 shot in the first game, that's not much bigger there. So let's just take the over 2.5. West Ham Tottenham. Let's be realistic. Both of them will probably get up. That's probably the way I'll be looking at it. Anyway. All right, next game we're covering is Brentford Leicester. This is Sunday as well. A lot of Sunday games, obviously, with the Europa League this week. Brentford at home in West London. Mark O'Haire 2.68, Leicester City at 2.7. The draw available at 3.4. The main age line is the draw no bet line, so obviously they're very even in the match odds, and they're very even in this market. 1.9 you can back the Bees, the Fox there 1.92, and 2.5 is the total. Adrian Clarke, what are you making of this one?
It's a tough one.
Like Brentford were unlucky last weekend, weren't they? And I mean, obviously Leicester coming off that huge win at home to Manchester United. And look, we've got enough of a sample size now on Leicester coming back from European games, as they've been in the Europa League, which feels like a good few years. So how do you see this playing out?
I found this one a hard one to call, I've got to admit, because the Brentford are giving everybody a real tough game, aren't they? They were super impressive, I thought, against Chelsea. To limit a team like Chelsea to 5 shots is unbelievable, really, for a team that was in the Championship last year. So hats off to Thomas Frank. He's doing a spectacular job there. But they have lost a couple at home, and they've drawn. So the Brentford Community Stadium hasn't been a fortress, even though it's a hard place to go. I think they've been unlucky with Bremo and Tony, obviously, and Bremo has hit the post 6 times, which is just mad. So yeah, look, loads to like about Brentford, but it's Leicester. What are you going to get if they play like they did against United going forward? They'll sweep most teams aside, including Brentford. And you look at Leicester with the strikers. Vardy, one of the, outside of Mo Salah, possibly the most informed striker in the division. Iheanacho has come into the team, has been excellent. Maddison has had a recall and looks rejuvenated. Patson Daka scored 4 in midweek in Russia. So you've got 4 guys there that are in good nick, and I haven't even mentioned Harvey Barnes or Yuri Tielemans. So Leicester, for me, have got goals in them. The concern is that away from home, they have looked unbelievably shaky. I mean, really dodgy, haven't they, this season on the road? They've conceded 2 in each of their last 4 Premier League games as well. Haven't kept a clean sheet in any of their last 11 Premier League away games, Leicester City. So you can't trust them to go to Brentford and grind out a result. So, yeah. So I find it hard to pick the winner here. I think Leicester have got the quality. Brentford have got the momentum and a good tactical approach. So I've landed on overs, even though Brentford have been pretty tight at the back. I feel that Mbeumo and Tony will cause Leicester's very questionable defence big problems in the game. And from their point of view, I hope they get a bit luckier and they score at least 1 or 2 goals here. But then I flip it around to Leicester, and I think they are good enough, even against a good Brentford rearguard. They're good enough to go there, and they're playing well enough to score goals themselves. So I've landed on over 2.5, which came in at not a bad price of 1.93. So that's my pick, but it's certainly not one of my stronger selections here.
Yeah, and I forgot this was actually Mark's game of choice, so apologies there, Adrian. I teed you up the wrong way. I'm going to tee you up for next one, though. But Mark O'Haire, this was your game of choice. What is the value here? I think you're fancying a home win.
I wouldn't say I'm fancying a home win. I'm fancying a tricky game to call, like Adrian has, to be fair. I think it's an interesting game. Brentford deserve so much credit for quickly establishing themselves in the Premier League and being very competitive, particularly on home soil in Hounslow. You have to look at their record, considering they've played Arsenal, Brighton, Liverpool and Chelsea, not just with the eyes, but also with the data. They've deserved more than 4 points at home, considering that schedule. Overall, on expected points, I've got them 6th, which is remarkable, really. Their only defeats have been 1-0 to Brighton and Chelsea, both occupying top 4 positions, and they actually won the expected goals count on both occasions. The Chelsea game last weekend, if you simulated all the shots and all the opportunities and all the chances created in that game, if you simulated them 1,000 times, Brentford win that game 58% of the time. Chelsea win it 17% of the time. So very, very unfortunate. But the performance, I think, should give them more confidence and more belief that they are capable of competing at this level. They'll take what Leeds produced last season as an example, as a barometer. And I think the market is now starting to give them a lot of credit, because they went off as 3.15 shots at home to Brighton. They're trading at 2.68 here against Leicester, and quite rightly so. I think they're fully deserving of that price too. I think they're very awkward. I think they've got the ability to mix it. We've seen their passing range in the Championship, but also now they've shown us a different side to the game, a direct game, a physical approach, as well as the hard-working midfield, which has got a lot of balance about them. They're a smart team. I think they're a difficult team to play. I just think Leicester, I still need to see a bit more from Leicester to suggest that they've turned the corner, really. I liked what Rodgers did last weekend against United. identified some weaknesses, exploited them. Maddison played well, but I don't think they'll have it quite so easy this time around. And even still against United last weekend, they very nearly chucked it away as well, with some pretty atrocious defending. They've kept just one clean sheet all season. They're conceding 1.75 goals per game on average in the Premier League. And yes, sure, they've had a tricky start, but if you look at the defensive negative stats, they're giving up the second highest non-penalty expected goals figure, second most shots, third most shots on target, the third most shots in the box as well. Evans wasn't 100% last weekend. He probably will be getting back to it soon, but I just think Ndidi and Fofana, the misses of those two are still really, really key. So everything they've got going forward, they almost lose out in defence. So yeah, I'm just willing to kind of give Brentford a try at the price. You can get them +0 on the Asian handicap at 1.9. Money back if it ends in the draw. You paid out if they win. They should have beaten Chelsea. They should have beaten Brighton. So why not, really?
Yeah, 1.9. That appears inside Brentford +0.0. So like Mark said, if it is a draw, you get your money back. I think we're going to take that one, Adrian, and I'll give you the next one, Man City. And don't disagree with the goals angle there, but again, that's not going to be one we're going to be opening our wallet in a massive way for, I don't think. So yeah, let's have a look at the next
It's
game.
hard because very quickly on that. Brentford have been one of the more unluckiest sides, I think, in the division. Leicester, one thing I probably should have pointed out is they've been more clinical than in almost anybody else. Their expected goals is far lower, as is Jamie Vardy's, than his actual goal output. So they've been super clinical. Can they sustain it? That is the big question moving forwards. Or will the form catch up? And so that helps them sustain it. It's a big question mark at the moment, no doubt about it.
It is. They were so good last Saturday.
The annoying thing was that when I picked this game, I thought they were playing in Russia on Thursday, not on Wednesday. So I was kind of getting all geared up to go on Brentford.
Yeah, that actually threw me as well. I had it in my head they were playing tonight, even earlier. All right, the only Saturday game we're covering from the Premier League is Brighton Hove Albion. They're home to Manchester City. Fourth place, third. Brighton, the fourth team, of course, are at home here at the Amex. 8.8. You can back the Seagulls. Manchester City at 1.43. Excuse me, the draw available 5.0. Brighton getting a 1.25 goal start on the Asian handicap at 1.94. And 2.5 is the total. It's hard not to be impressed with Brighton the last couple of weeks, but this is going to be a whole different kettle of fish, this one.
It is, yeah. Brighton are playing really well. So hard to play against. The press is just suffocating teams, and it's not easy to create quality chances against them. I just think Graham Potter's doing a great job. I think they're slightly underrated in the market here. You can get quite a nice, healthy handicap on Brighton to pick something up. But I'm going to swerve it because Manchester City are in such good form. But the Seagulls are, 4 clean sheets. Very impressive. The question is, are they good enough to hurt Manchester City? Not entirely sure they are. I think the way that they press could give them chances. City will play out from the back, of course, and their man-to-man setup. I can see them pinching the ball in good areas and maybe nicking something, but I don't see them, piling on the pressure against Manchester City. They did win this 3-2, didn't they, at the back end of last season? But it's kind of a dead rubber, and City were down to 10 men for most of that game. So that's a bit of an outlier. As for City, just 6 clean sheets in 8. I think that tells its own story, really. They're dominating teams. They're keeping the ball away from their own goal very, very effectively. Outstanding against Bruges in midweek. A potentially tricky game, and they cruised it. Very, very professional. And they've got some players coming into good form. Bernardo's playing great. Kevin De Bruyne is getting fitter and fitter. Foden is maybe the best option as this false 9 if they're going to go that way. Foden, then you've got Jesus, Grealish. I mean, so many options with Mahrez as well. So yeah, for me, City are very likely to win a competitive game, one where Brighton don't make it easy for them to run riot. But I can't back against Manchester City at the moment. They're mightily impressive against Chelsea. That Chelsea game was just fantastic from their point of view, and it'll give them so much confidence. So yeah, I looked at it and I thought, look, Manchester City and under 3.5 goals definitely appeals, because you can't back City on the nose. That's way too skinny. Man City and under 3.5 is appealing, but you can stretch it to Manchester City and under 4.5 goals if you want to play it So, really, really safe here. And I'm inclined to do that. Just because, it wouldn't be the shock of the century if they went and won 4-0, because they can go anywhere and win 4-0.
Yeah.
They're not going to score 5. I don't think they're going to get 5 goals in this game. So, City and under 4.5, 1.72, I think was the last time I looked at that price. That appeals big time to me.
Yeah, you're stretching it a bit there, and Mark O'Haire is a similar angle, but actually Mark's seeming a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit more brave and adventurous in this one, Mark. You like City and under 3.5, 2.2.
Look, if we can get 1.72 on City to win on under 4.5,
I know
I'll absolutely get involved. But I'm coming at it from a very, very similar angle, which is great to hear. Really, City. Adrian's covered a lot of my notes, so I'll try and hover over them quickly. But I wanted to say, if you think about the most elite, but the best Premier League performances over the past 18 months or so, Chelsea at Stamford Bridge stands out like a sore thumb, really. Their top level is ridiculously high. But what's made them stand out so much to me this season is the defensive side of the game. They're only averaging 6 shots against in the Premier League this season, which is ridiculous. In 6 of their 8 games, they've given up less than 0.5 non-penalty expected goals, which again is just ridiculous. On a per-game average, exclude penalties, and their XG is 1.52 more than their opponents per game on average. It's just crazy numbers, really. But at the same point, Brighton's defence, Brighton, in terms of the underlying metrics, are ranking as the second best defence in the Premier League this season. They're giving up just 0.66 MPXG per game, and the most they've conceded is 1.03. They're up there for shots in the box against, big chances conceded. It obviously helps that both these two teams like possession of the ball, so they can control the game as well, which I think plays into a way of opposing goals. But there was a time when Brighton, during the early part of Graham Potter's tenure and beforehand, used to be thrashed kind of week in, week out against the Big Six. Those days are long gone, and I know last season has caveats and asterisks around them, but Brighton have only lost by 2 goals or more twice against the top 6 last season. They've actually only lost by 2 goals or more in 5 of the last 49 Premier League games. They've only conceded 3 or more goals twice in the last 42 Premier League games. So these improvements have been there for quite some time, actually, under Graham Potter, and I'm not sure it's been publicised as much as how good Brighton's defensive game has been. So you can see that in the total goals line, 2.5 for a Man City match. That's almost unheard of in the Premier League. So City themselves, despite having all the attacking options they have, they've actually scored 2 goals or fewer in 13 of the last 15 away Premier League games. And over a 4-game sample, I know that the standard of opposition is quite high. Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea and Leicester away from home. The XG average comes in at 2.38 per game so far this season. So matches have tended to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say cagey, but a bit more controlled from a City perspective. So that's why I probably was being a bit too brave for my own good by backing City and under 3.5 at 2.2. But Adrian's right. They could easily come here and win 4-0. So it's nice to sort of get a bit more on your side.
Just in case, City to win and under 4.5. It's currently available at 1.73 actually at matchbook.com. Let's do a quick recap of what we have there so far, gentlemen, before moving on to the latter stages. Liverpool minus 0.0, which is obviously draw no bet. If there's a draw, you get your money back. That's 1.7 short, but it's a fairly solid bet as the guys made the appropriate case. West Ham Tottenham over 2.5 is available at 1.9 at matchbook.com currently. Brentford plus 0.0, again, draw no bet. That's a bigger price, obviously, than the Liverpool one at 1.9. And we just mentioned there Manchester City to win at Brighton and under 4.5 goals, just in case we get that 4-0 City win, because they're always capable of it. Adrian Clarke, League One, first for your EFL selection. Wigan to win at Wimbledon, 2.16 currently.
Yeah, let's get one above the old evens mark, shall we? I just think it's a good price on a very good team that will be overwhelming favourites in almost every game that they play. Away from home, they had a setback. I should say that Wigan lost in midweek against MK Dons at home. At home, they haven't been quite as dominant. That should be said. But away from home, they've only played 5 games, but they're top of the away table, 12 points, 4 wins from 5 on the road. And their aggregate, since losing to Sunderland away on the opening day, their aggregate on the road with those 4 wins is 12-1. So they've been very, very impressive. Away from Wigan, love the front four. You know, Charlie White, James McLean, Callum Lang. These guys are outstanding, and they're all in really good form as well. So yeah, I would fancy them against the Wimbledon team that have only won 1 of 6 at home. Wimbledon have had 3 decent results in a row. They actually won at Lincoln in midweek, but you know, it's a very young, inexperienced side. Exciting, but quite raw. And I think they're coming up against a Wigan team that are full of really high caliber players for this level that are also experienced. You know, I'm talking players in their late 20s, early 30s. They've seen it all. I think they'll just have too much nous for Wimbledon, who, as I say, haven't been brilliant at their new stadium as yet. So Wigan for me, odds against 2.16. Yeah, I'm having that.
Yeah, and League 2 under is the next game. You're looking at Forest Green and Salford under 2.5. I haven't done one of these under 3.5 actors in a while, mate. Goal expectancy is up, obviously, in comparison to last year, but this is one you like as an under as well.
Yeah, it is up a bit. But for Forest Green, they're the leaders, but they failed to score 3 times at home already this season to good teams, Tranmere, Swindon and Port Vale. So in front of their own fans, they've found it more difficult to cut loose, and Salford are pretty tight defensively. 8 of Forest Green's last 9 games have actually seen 2 goals or less. So it's a pattern, and obviously those patterns can change any time. But Salford are tight. You know, they're tight at the back. They've struggled a bit going forward, but they don't give a lot away. 5 of Salford's last 7 have gone unders as well, and they've had 3 clean sheets in their last 4 games. So, Salford are really involved in high-scoring games. Their matches only average 2 goals across the season so far. And in terms of both teams to scoring, both teams to score no has landed in 62% of both teams' matches this season. So that would be a bet that might interest a few, but I plumb for under 2.5 because I think it's going to be a tight affair at the new law, and it's called something else now, but that's the old name for it. But yeah, close game there.
The proper name for it.
We could go through that. That's another podcast in itself. No old stadium names. Mark O'Haire, your love affair for goals in Serie A continues, but with good reason. I think if you look at your rate this year, you're definitely well above in profit on these. And Verona and Lazio is one that you're after spotting a bit of an inefficiency in the market.
Yeah, I think we've seen this story before, haven't we? But I'll just give a quick update on the numbers. 3.18 goals per game in Serie A this season, quite comfortably Europe's best, averaging 3 goals or more over the last 3 campaigns now. 66% of games in Italy's top flight this season have gone over 2.5 goals. 45% has gone over 3.5 goals. Crazy figures, really. And I know it's a very sort of crude and not the right way to sort of price your matches up. But if you just turn that 66% hit rate for over 2.5 goals into implied odds, you'd be looking at a 1.5 shot. So immediately when you look to Verona and Lazio, you're seeing over 2.5 goals at north of 1.75 and suddenly thinking, hang on, there's a nice bit of a value here on our side. And, it's borne out. The reason why it's such a bigger price is because Verona's games, whilst results have been absolutely chaotic, they're actually, the underlying numbers have suggested that there's been a few more goals than probably were to be expected. But even so, this is Lazio going to Verona, a Lazio team who are yet to keep a clean sheet under Maurizio Sarri. They've conceded multiple goals in half of their 8 games. And on the road have been pretty flaky. The last away game before the international break was a 3-0 defeat at Bologna. They're in Europa League action on Thursday night. They will rest and rotate, but there could be a bit of fatigue in the system anyhow. And going forward, they've got so much quality. Immobile was back and scoring last weekend against Inter, and I suspect they're going to cause this Verona defence many problems. They're already onto their second coach this season, Verona. Igor Tudor has come in, steadied the ship a little bit, but they've got this habit of starting like a train and finishing horrendously. And it was seen at San Siro last weekend. They were terrific, leading 2-0 against Milan, eventually ran out of steam and lost 3-2. If games ended at half-time, they'd have 16 points from 8 games. They've only got 8 points on the board. They've given up 2-goal leads on 3 occasions already this season. It's just been so chaotic, so wild, so entertaining for the neutrals. This is their results so far this season: 2-3, 1-3, 0-1, 3-2, 2-2, 3-3, 4-0, 2-3. That's 4.25 goals per game on average, 1 clean sheet, 1 game they failed to score in. 7 of 8 have gone over 3.5, and half of those 8 games have featured 5 or more goals. It's bonkers, really. And Lazio aren't far behind either. They've seen over 3.5 goals in 5 of their 8 games. So, for me, I did my own numbers on this game. I've got over 2.5 goals, trading around 1.6 to 1.65. I think there's a nice value there to get with over 2.5 goals at Verona.
Yeah, blasting the past there, Igor Tudor. He was a proper player, wasn't he? Yeah, was a hard man he was.
And 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline. They've been saying it for years, haven't they?
Really they have, always. Yeah. Serie A never fails to disappoint on that front. Mark, Sevilla, I suppose, a bit of a different vibe here with Sevilla. We're not going to be looking at overs bets in these games. Or La Liga in general, it's a hard one. I mean, even their last 3 games, there's only been 2 goals scored. However, they are playing, they're doing quite well. I mean, look, they scored 11, they conceded 3. But Levante, they're not great at all.
Yeah, the difference is you just know what you're going to get from Sevilla, don't you? They're just rock solid. Got the foundations in place under Lopetegui to be successful, but also got the craft and the ingenuity in the final third and the ammunition to pick up points in tight matches. They're second in terms of expected points in La Liga so far. There's nothing fluky about their high league position. They did pinch the points at Celta last weekend. Tough place to go in Spanish terms, but that was a 4th win to 0 already this season. The second only to Atletico across all the defensive metrics. And this game is taking place at the Santos Picjuan, where they're just so strong. 17 wins from 22 in La Liga since the start of last season. 13 clean sheets. So they're trading around 1.5 or just below here to beat Levante. I looked at their record over the last 4 seasons at home when they've been rated 1.4 to 1.6 in the market. They've won 25 of 34 such games, including 11 of the last 14 under Lopetegui. They just tend to get these results. You obviously can't back them at sort of 1.5-ish, but like we did with the Man City game, I'm chucking under 4.5 goals in, and you're getting around a 1.75-ish shots. So you're getting the 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 2-1, and 3-1 on side. Only 3 of the last 22 at home have gone over 3.5 goals. Levante, winless through 9 games. They have drawn 5 of those, but they failed to score in the last 4 games. Only scored 1 goal from open play this season, only averaging 7 shots. Very unlike Levante, they have got quality in forward areas, but Paco Lopez just can't seem to get a tune out of his players at the moment. They have been better than those results suggested, but something's not right at the moment. And away from home, they do tend to come up short, just 2 clean sheets away since the start of last season. 13 defeats in that sequence as well. So this is a really tough game for them. I expect Sevilla to do a job.
Yeah, if it's going to be any year for Sevilla, I think this might be the year. They could come in like Atletico last year. You just don't know. But then again, we have seen this from them early on the season in the past, and they do sometimes tail away. Weekend best bets, Adrian Clarke, were you looking? Have you covered it already, or what are you thinking?
Yes, look, for me, yes. Manchester City and under 4.5 goals is very strong. I do like West Ham and Spurs, both teams to score, or the over 2.5. I think that would be my runner-up in the weekend best bet. But I'm going to go for City to win. Win a professional game at Brighton.
Good stuff, Mark. O'Haire, your best bet?
Yeah, Verona against Lazio, over 2.5 goals.
Like it. Yeah, very quick and easy, and goals Serie A tends to work. All right, my thanks to Adrian, my thanks to Mark. A lot of fun as ever, guys. We may not get the same kind of hit rate this weekend, but you know what? If we keep churning out a profit, that's all that matters. My thanks to you, gents. If you are watching our content today live on YouTube or even back after the event, please do give us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. If you're listening to us on your preferred podcast app, please do leave us a preferential review if you're enjoying the content. Until next Thursday, goodbye for now.